I'm Herks.
And I'm Harry.
My partner, Harry Lyons, is the noted Honolulu advertiser, cartoonist, and local drunk.
And my partner, Herkies, is a nut and a lousy fisherman, and he drinks a lot, too.
We're doing today's show from the bar of the Kona Inn, and Harry and I spent the day with Dennis Hill of the Aussie Team, who went into today's fishing with the lead over the Spalding boat at the time of this show. It looks as though the Spaldings may be getting close, however, but our hopes are riding with Dennis and his team because they're a great bunch of guys, and, well, Harry, who's today's hero of the day?
Okay, Bob, listen, I think our Herks and Harry's Hero of the Day award has to go to Clint Ashford of the Kaneohe Yacht Club, who caught a beautiful marlin last night. Oh, it was about 8:15, I guess, Bob, on 50-pound test line. Well, he and his crew admired it and looked at it and thought it was a heck of a good fish. But since it was their day off from official fishing, they stuck it in the freezer, see, to await shipment to Honolulu today. That was pretty bright of them, I think. But by golly, this morning, wife Beverly, being just a little bit smarter than old Clint, took a squint at the record book. By gum, she says to Clint, our marlin looked to be a pretty good size. And Sally Perry has the record with a 234-pounder on 50-pound test. Why don't we weigh ours? Well, old modest Clint says, shucks, no, Beth. But wifely intuition prevails, and, well, folks, we don't want to keep you on the hook any longer. To make the story short, it was a new unofficial world record. A 255-pound marlin on 50-pound test line. That's subject, of course, to confirmation by the IGFA.
Say, Harry, I'm sure that all of our listeners are wondering, what did Freddie Rice do today? Did he, anything new?
You got me. I don't know. You really know what he did.
But, he's still in the running because although last night we said he had a 500 and some odd pounder, and this put him out of the running for the Hero of the Tournament award, we sat and figured he put that fish together with the one he didn't catch, he'd be over 1,000 pounds, and he'd be a big hero. But, well,
that's the way it goes.
He's still in the running for the total tournament.
Well, that's right. We're going to announce that, of course, I guess tomorrow night. We'll give
banquet, I think we'll get
at the banquet, we'll have the Hero of the Tournament. But anyway, for today, it's hats off to Clint Ashford as our Hero of the Day, or should it, Bob, maybe belong to wife Beverly?
Well, I think we'll give it to Clint, okay?
Well, Bob, listen, how'd the fishing go today out there?
Well, Harry, it was a little hard to tell because my seat at the bar was a little behind a pillar and I couldn't see the pier. However, I think that today's close of the tourney is going to come down to a kangaroo's eyelash, and I urge all 7 of our listeners to come down to see the final hanging. Is that the word, Harry?
I think that's his fault. I don't know who's going to be hung up there. Will it be the Australians or who, but we'll see.
Well, Harry, why don't you tell us a little bit about Johnny Peacock and Royal Hawaiian Airlines?
Okay, Bob. Well, any of you listeners who are connected with the tournament, of course, will be going back to Oahu and Honolulu pretty soon, or else going on to some of the neighbor islands. And Bob and I both would like to suggest very strongly that you at least give a call to Johnny Peacock and his very courteous staff over at Royal Hawaiian Air Service and talk to them about arranging your trip for you. They fly beautiful Cessna 310s. They're twin-engine jobs and real beauties, and they can take you just about any place. In fact, they can, it surprised me, Bob, because that they can go from any island to any other one, and that's more than you can say for most of the others.
Yeah, apart from another round there.
So we just want to say, really, call Johnny down there and see what he can do for you.
Harry, a couple of things that I think we ought to mention right here is, Lee Marvin's a great guy. We spent a lot of time with him the last couple of days.
Oh, Lee.
Let's tell a little about Lee Marvin's trip on the boat today, but let's not mention the boat. Yeah, okay.
Well, Lee, of course, is I've been called over the period of this week a bon vivant, but I think I got to take a back seat to Lee Marvin. He's a wonderful guy, a heck of an actor, but he's also a great guy to have around during a tournament. And so this morning he decided, I think Lee honestly was a little out of the running, unless he caught a world record today. He might have.
I think at least that.
At least a world, maybe 2.
A world record my time, maybe. He's got several of those.
Anyway, he went out, and I think he did it up front. He went out with a Hawaiian trio, and he went out with a bartender, and he went out with quite a few refreshments, and he had a ball out there. I understand. We haven't seen him come in yet, and I think they may have ended up over in Maui or something, right?
I don't know. I kind of worry a little bit about Lee because he may never get back in. Although I think he had a good time today.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he had a ball. Bob, I don't want to hurry this at all, but I think
was there another big Well, Dan O'Neill didn't do much today. He sat in the bar most of the day with us, I guess, and did he get? He couldn't have caught anything today.
No,
Water.
he was trying to fish there. I understand.
I understand he caught 3 olives on
right.
on light tackle.
Got about 3 olives. Bob, let's just for a second here. We've got a very interesting guy, and I'm anxious to hear what he has to say. Why don't you introduce tonight's guest?
Well, tonight's guest is Dennis Hill, a fellow we've gotten to know over the last few days. Dennis is with the Aussie team that we spoke about earlier. And Dennis has been sweating out today's tournament because his team's in the lead, and he's not fishing today, and there's a bunch of guys out there that can catch him. One of the things that Dennis is a little worried about is that John Killian has got the largest fish caught by a Conean guest so far, and this, of course, gives him the Deadly Child Magnum of Champagne Award. And so he's got 2 things going. The whole tournament and the whole tournament and the Magnum of Champagne. And Dennis, why don't you tell us about how you think this whole mess is going?
Well, thank you. The most I can say is I'm a bundle of nerve now. I didn't think 2 days ago when John hooked onto that 578-pound marlin that we'd hold that for any more than a few hours. But in fact, I was hoping that because I didn't want to come into this situation where I'm starting to perspire very freely. And I didn't think this was 3 o'clock on Wednesday. On Wednesday he got that, and we went through Thursday still holding the lead. And last night we were a little bit worried when the reported 600-pounder coming in, and it was a mighty big fish.
You guys were popping a little sweat down there at the pier last night.
My word. Oh, yes. We were a little bit concerned. It looked as though it was going to be, take the prize and the Magnum.
I noticed Peter Govney wasn't saying a word, but actually Freddie wasn't in contention for the Magnum. He's not a Conean guest. But Peter, he was awfully tickled when that thing came in at the weight it did. Well, it kept you guys in the lead.
I didn't get the actual length of the fish, but I'm sure it was about 18 inches to 2 feet longer.
Long, wasn't it? Long.
John
fish. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. He was at depth too, but he just must have been a bit light on the shoulders.
John, Peter said that he thought it was a little thin. Hey, tell us about this 5-to-1 club that Killian is a member of.
I think we made that one up a bit.
Well, I think it's a great idea anyway.
That is. I think
after the beer cans.
You've seen the photographs in the press with little John alongside his marlin, and it's hard to imagine a man that's he's lighter than the breaking strain of the line to start with.
That's right. You couldn't hang him by the fish line.
You could, and it wouldn't snap. Dead weight.
No, I wanted to ask. I've been very curious about your team.
We haven't gotten to the 5-to-1 yet.
He said he made that up.
Yeah. We did make it up.
But I wanted to tell us what the 5-to-1.
5-to-1. It was just an assumption. There is a 10-to-1 club, as you know.
Right. I know that.
10 times the weight of breaking strain of the line, but in his case, it's personal weight against the weight of the fish.
That's right. 5 pounds of fish to 1 pound of angler, isn't that?
Yeah, I think it should be a new thing we'll have here next year.
Well, we can still get that Magnum. We'll dedicate half of that to the 5-to-1 club.
Yeah.
No OPs for me. Harry,
Yeah, I wanted to ask. I've been very interested in the Australian team. They're all great guys and very interesting to be with. And which of you, Dennis, is would you say is the more experienced, the most experienced angler? Is John, or are you, or is Peter?
Well, if I may mention myself first, I'm the sort of fellow that goes along making films on fishing. I started off fishing, making a film. It took me 18 months to get some certain shots I was after, and I got hooked by the sport of game fishing, and I've been in it since 1952. But I don't fish much. When I go into a competition, the last one was in Queensland, that's in Australia, sort of thing I end up with, I foul hooked a turtle in the armpit.
In the armpit?
Well, I've gotten a lot of turtles, but never in the armpit.
That's what it is. He put up his flipper and said, "I give up," and you got him in the armpit. Huh?
I got a greater shock than I think the turtle did, but I think between the two boys, well, to start with, Peter's been in this. Well, how old is Peter now? But 36. I first met Peter, in 52, and he'd been fishing a long time then. He's a real devoted fishing man. He makes a study of it. His brother runs a marine land in Sydney.
Oh, nice fellow.
And he can, what he doesn't know about fishing, he'll make up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very,
that's a good one.
I think it's particularly interesting that nobody who's listening or perhaps a lot of you listening haven't seen the Australian team, but the size of Peter, I don't know how big he is. I think he's as big as I am, if not bigger. He's a big guy. And of course, John is quite small. I think they had him weighed in at 115 pounds, dripping wet. Of course,
110.
110. He wasn't as dripping wet as Freddie Gartley, but
not as wet as our hero the other day.
But and it's quite incredible. And Dennis is a happy medium there. I think what we call a medium, huh?
Pure living.
well, tell us about John. He holds a bunch of records, doesn't he, down your
Yes,
way?
he has a world record. Now, don't ask me the details because my mind's got a bit of a mental block at the moment.
This isn't a very accurate. Anyway, you'd say nobody takes.
He does have a world record, and Peter has had a world record. They have several Australian records between them, and they are two members of a boat called Jack 3, which John owns. And they've been champion boat in Sydney for the last 2 years. Bob Dyer was the boy that used to hold this
Bob
one.
Dyer, I know
he's
Bob.
fished here in the first couple of years.
Sure, I know Bob.
And Bob has been the champion boatman, but these two boys in the last 2 seasons have taken off Bob. And they're pretty keen anglers, and they do very well. Mainly because this tackle you use here is a bit heavy. Our marlin don't go as big as they do at Kona. We get them, I think, in the Australian records in the 500-pound class, but generally it's between the 100 and the 200, 230. And they're not too many.
Dennis, there's one thing that I noticed your gear. Now, you've got some red reels, and Charlie Yamamoto said that he thought those were Italian. Is that right?
One is an American reel, and gosh, you put me on the spot because they come
Finor?
Finor, that's
Finor,
it, yeah.
Right.
And the other one is a similar-looking reel. It's finished with that gold finish, and it's an Italian reel. It's a very nice reel.
And I also noticed that you're using some monofilament line, which is getting to be popular here in Hawaii. The boys up in Kauai use it a lot for ahi because it gives them a little bit of stretch. How do you feel about monofilament?
Well, personally, I had my doubts when I saw it because I'd been away from fishing for a couple of years, and when I left it was Dacron and braided line, and which replaced from the old linen line years ago. And I always understood that you couldn't use monofilament because of the stretch. The reels used to, when you wind in under pressure, there was so much pressure applied to the reel, it would break the reel. But I understand these new ones are designed to take this. And, they seem to catch records.
I'd like to break in just for a second, Dennis. You kind of put yourself down as a fisherman, which I know is not right, but I know that you're one of your... No, I said it's not right. No, I said he put himself, kind of knocked himself.
He tried to... Okay, I'm sorry, Harry. My apologies.
No, I say he kind of knocked himself as a fisherman, and I know that he's a very fine one, but I also know that your main interest, one of your good interests, is in the filming of it. And,
yes.
Where is your commercial outlet? Do you do it as a freelance photographer, or how do you go about it?
Well, this is a little bit of a departure from my normal method of operation. I generally make films under sponsorship. I get the client first, and then make the film. I've burnt. What was that? I burnt my fingers several times in making a film and then trying to sell it. The film was all right, but you're in a different position as far as bargaining is concerned.
Get the buyer first.
Yeah. This one, it's a bit speculative, this one, but we have a sort of a first option sponsor waiting for it. And I think now, because before this fishing, after the first 2 days of fishing, I was a little bit worried because I had a marvelous film about Honolulu and here at Kona, lovely scenery, a lot of people. And,
plus a little bit about the Herks and Harry show.
Would that be primarily for television in Australia? Or?
Well, we're doing it in colour, 16mm colour. It'll be primarily for television, but it'll have the non-theatrical usage afterwards in colour.
Boy, I hope you send it back up our way. We'd like to take a look at it.
Well, we're always in the market for sales overseas.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
We can maybe show it over case.
Harry, there's one thing. As long as we're sitting here at the bar like Tony and I understand that these Aussies are pretty big beer drinkers. Well, don't you got anything to say about that? Or maybe, Harry, why don't you ask him a family question about...
Well, could I say one thing? I imagine that Kona would have a reputation as being one of the heaviest drinking towns I've ever been in.
No, are you talking about the Herks and Harry show?
On that note...
But I think the local people would do as they do in the city of Darwin in Australia, which has a pretty high consumption rate of about 120 gallons a head per year.
Ooh, beautiful.
That's counting kids, too.
And Harry, when are we going to go down there?
I'm ready.
But you got good beer down there, do you think?
Well, yes, it's pretty good.
At the Swan Lugger?
Swan, yeah, that's from the west. That's a good,
Now, wait a minute. Let's not do any plugs here.
Oh, let's not plug any jerk. I mean, we'll charge them for the time. Go on, Dave.
Well, the beer drinking is the national drink, really. It's because it's a hot climate, and people seem to have developed this over the years, I suppose.
Dennis, not to change the subject and not to deliberately get into a controversial subject, but Sports Illustrated ran an article on the sad state of kangaroo hunting in Australia. Do you have any comments on that? I know it got to be a real hot potato in between our two countries.
I personally have an objection because as a young boy I undertook, as most young fellows do, the mad desire to go out and hunt something.
Mm-hmm.
And I shot one kangaroo, and that was the finish. That was a long time ago.
Okay, well let's just leave it at that, shall we?
As far as as a sport, I don't suggest anyone should say it's a sport. They kill kangaroos because they eat a lot of grass and fat.
Okay. Well, fine. And let's close that whole program. And I'm Herks, and
I'm Harry.
And all 7 of you, why don't you listen again tomorrow to the
good luck
and
to
Harry show
Australia.
and waitress.
Waitress.
Okay, let's.